The heels of Imani Ellington echoed through the marble-floored lobby of the Ellington Grand, a five-star hotel in the heart of London. Crystal chandeliers glittered above, fresh lilies perfumed the air, and every corner of the place whispered class. Most of the staff bustled around, unaware that the woman entering wasn't just another guest, she was the one who had designed, funded, and built this empire from scratch. Dressed in a plain black blazer and smart slacks, with not a single logo in sight, Imani blended in by choice. She wasn't here to be recognized. She was here to observe. But just as she approached the reception desk, a man with a slick comb-over and an oversized ego stepped in front of her. "Excuse me, madam," he said with a raised eyebrow. "This hotel is private and highly exclusive. We don't allow people to loiter." Imani paused, one brow lifting ever so slightly. "I'm here to book a suite," she said coolly. The man chuckled. "I'm sure you are. We're fully booked, love. You might want to try somewhere, more within reach." Behind him, a well-dressed white couple, Mr. and Mrs. Fairchild, was being handed a keycard with warm smiles and no questions asked. Imani turned to the nervous receptionist, Lucy Briggs, who glanced at the manager in panic. A few nearby guests were already sensing something was off. Imani calmly pulled out her phone. "Oh," she said, scrolling. "Because according to this, you've got 10 suites free. And, you're speaking to your employer." The smug manager blinked. "I beg your pardon." She looked him dead in the eye. "Nigel Croft, isn't it? I'm Imani Ellington. CEO. Owner. You might want to take a seat." Nigel Croft's jaw slackened as the name sank in. You're Miss Ellington," he stammered, his face draining of color. Lucy Briggs stood frozen behind the desk, eyes wide in disbelief. Imani didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her presence was sharp enough to cut through the tension that had swallowed the lobby. "I suggest you don't dig deeper, Mr. Croft. The hole's already wide." Murmurs rippled through the guests nearby, some already recording on their phones. "You don't look like," Nigel caught himself too late. Imani folded her arms. "Like someone who owns this hotel?" "You're right. I don't look like your expectations." Lucy swallowed hard. I am sorry, Ms. Ellington," she whispered. "You'll have your chance to speak, Lucy," Imani replied, eyes still fixed on Croft. "But let's get one thing clear. If you think a tailored suit and a British accent give you the right to make assumptions, you're in the wrong place." Croft fumbled for words. "Please, allow me to." Imani held up her hand. "Don't embarrass yourself further. Where's James?" Lucy hesitated, then picked up the phone. Moments later, James, the head of security, arrived with 2 guards at his heels. He blinked, realizing the tension in the air. "Escort Mr. Croft to the staff room. He's no longer needed on the floor." Croft's protests were muffled as James led him away. Guests watched with a mix of shock and satisfaction. Imani turned back to Lucy. "Now, let's talk." Lucy wrung her hands, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know what to do. He's always like that." "Always?" Imani asked, her voice even. Lucy nodded. "He decides who's fit to be here. People of color, women alone, he finds excuses." Imani narrowed her eyes. "And you've stayed silent?" "I was scared," Lucy admitted. "I'm on probation. He threatened to have me replaced if I stepped out of line." Imani exhaled. She wasn't surprised, but it still stung. "Lucy, fear is real. But compliance, that's a choice." Lucy blinked rapidly, eyes glassy. "I needed this job. My mum's ill. I couldn't risk it." Imani softened, but only slightly. "You'll keep your job, if you're willing to make changes." "Big ones?" Lucy nodded quickly. "Yes. I'll do better. Good. Because this hotel's reputation is on the line. Guests continued to whisper nearby. A few were bold enough to clap softly. Imani turned and addressed the onlookers. This establishment does not stand for prejudice. If you've ever been mistreated here, I want to know. And it stops now. The buzz intensified. Someone shouted, about time. Imani returned to the desk. Now, Lucy, find me the name of the newest hire on night shift. Lucy blinked. You're doing staff evaluations now. I'm doing a reality check, Imani replied. Starting with the people who've been overlooked. Lucy quickly typed into her computer. That'd be Ellie Summers. Front desk trainee. Started last week. Perfect, Imani said. Let's see what this new generation brings to the table. Ellie Summers adjusted her blazer for the third time that evening. She had no idea her second week on the job would involve meeting the woman who owned the hotel. Rumors spread fast, and tonight's scandal was already the only thing anyone talked about in the staff break room. When Lucy called her to the front desk, Ellie felt her stomach knot. She stepped forward, shoulders squared despite the nerves. Miss Ellington. I'm Ellie. You wanted to see me? Imani turned and sized her up, not in a harsh way, but with careful assessment. Relax, Ellie. I'm not here to ruin your shift. Ellie smiled nervously. Good to know. Imani motioned for her to come closer. Tell me, how have you been treated here so far? Ellie hesitated. Honestly? Imani gave a slow nod. Always. Well. Nigel made a few jokes. Called me fresh meat in front of the team. Said I was hired for my smile. Lucy's face paled. He said that? Ellie nodded. Every shift. Imani crossed her arms. Did anyone speak up? No, Ellie said quietly. I didn't want to make trouble. Imani looked around the lobby. You're not the problem, Ellie. But what you choose to tolerate could be. Ellie looked down. I won't stay quiet again. Imani offered her a small smile. Good. Now let's get to work fixing the mess others left behind. Back in the manager's office, Imani stood with James and Lucy while Ellie waited by the door, unsure if she should be in the room. Come in, Ellie, Imani said. You're part of this now. James placed a laptop on the table. We've got Croft's personnel files here. Everything he's flagged, deleted, or tried to hide. I've pulled the backups. Imani scrolled through the screen, her eyes scanning fast. Complaints. 7, to be exact. All swept under the rug. One from a pregnant guest, another from a Nigerian businesswoman who was mistaken for a cleaner. Lucy gasped. I didn't know it was this bad. You wouldn't. Nigel made sure to isolate departments, James said. He ran this place like his private fiefdom. Imani stopped at one entry. What's this? Ellie, come here. Ellie leaned over. That's the note Croft left on my onboarding file. It says I was hired for a pretty smile, not sharp thinking. Imani slammed the laptop shut. That's enough. The room fell silent. James cleared his throat. Want me to wipe everything? No, Imani replied. We archive it. This will go in our next HR audit. Public. Lucy looked at her nervously. Public? Yes. Transparency isn't optional anymore. Ellie stepped forward. Miss Ellington, thank you. Imani looked at her. Don't thank me. Just be ready. The spotlight's on you now. The hotel's PR team had already picked up wind of the unfolding drama. Imani scheduled a private media interview, not to air dirty laundry, but to get ahead of the story. Inside one of the hotel's sleek conference rooms, a journalist from the London Herald sat across from her, recorder already running. "Miss Ellington," the reporter began. "Why not keep this private?" Imani didn't flinch. "Because silence is the language of comfort. And comfort protects the wrong people." The journalist blinked. "So you're saying there was a pattern of discrimination in your hotel?" "I'm saying people trusted my brand to treat them fairly. And someone under my roof violated that trust." She took a breath. It wasn't just a mistake, it was repeated, deliberate exclusion. "And yes, it ends now." Lucy and Ellie watched from the corner, both slightly in awe. Ellie whispered, "She's incredible." "She's fearless," Lucy replied. The journalist asked, "So what happens to Mr. Croft?" "Terminated," Imani said simply. "And under investigation for misconduct." "And your staff?" "They're being retrained. Every single one." The journalist smiled, impressed. "You've made quite a statement." Imani nodded. "Good. Let it echo." Imani called an emergency meeting for all staff, right in the ballroom. The space filled with uneasy murmurs. Housekeeping, concierge, chefs, all were present. Standing at the center, Imani faced them with Lucy and Ellie on either side. "Many of you know who I am. For those who don't, I'm the reason this hotel exists. But today, I'm also your accountability check." She paused. "Let's not pretend this was an isolated incident. Some of you have watched it happen. Some have kept your heads down. That ends today." A young housekeeper raised her hand. "Will we be punished?" Imani shook her head. "This isn't about revenge. It's about building the kind of place we say we are." Lucy stepped forward, voice stronger now. "I stayed quiet too long. I'm owning that. So should all of us." Ellie added, "We can't fix what we won't face." Imani scanned the room. "You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be better. Those willing to grow, you've got my support. But anyone clinging to old habits? The door's right there." No one moved. Imani nodded. "Right answer." Later that evening, Imani sat down with Ellie and Lucy over tea in the staff lounge. Lucy stirred her cup. "Do you really think people will change?" "I think they will," Imani said, "when leadership does." Ellie leaned forward. "Have you ever faced this before?" Imani chuckled bitterly. "Too many times. Banks. Boardrooms. Even my own first hotel wouldn't give me a room when I went undercover." Lucy looked stunned. "What did you do?" "I bought the building 2 months later." Ellie blinked. "Seriously?" "Dead serious." They all laughed, tension finally easing. Imani sipped her tea. "This job isn't about rooms and bookings. It's about what happens when no one's watching. And that's what we're fixing." Lucy nodded. "We're with you." Imani raised her cup. "Then let's rebuild." While the staff began adapting to change, not everyone welcomed it. In a shadowed corner of the executive floor, 2 senior staff, Mr. Halford and Ms. Devlin, spoke in hushed voices. "This Ellington woman's shaking up too much," Halford muttered. Devlin folded her arms. "She's undoing years of quiet order. She's making a spectacle." "She's making us accountable," Devlin said, almost grudgingly. Halford scoffed. "Watch your back. She's not done cleaning house." Their whispers didn't go unnoticed. James stood outside the door, earpiece in, hearing every word. He smirked. "You picked the wrong hallway." James met Imani in her office the next morning. "We've got loyal staff, and we've got those still playing games." She sighed. "Let me guess. Halford? And Devlin." Imani leaned back. "Keep them close. Disloyalty always outs itself when pressure builds." James nodded. "You want them gone?" No, she said, eyes sharp. I want them to reveal themselves fully. Give them rope. James smiled. Understood. She turned to the window, watching the sunrise cut across the skyline. This hotel is about to become the example. And nothing hidden stays hidden. She tapped her desk. Let the games begin. Imani was reviewing HR files when her assistant knocked. There's a Mr. Harrington here. Says he's a silent investor. Imani frowned. Silent until now. Moments later, Miles Harrington walked in with the confidence of someone used to getting what he wanted. Tall, polished, and just on the edge of smug, he extended a hand. Miss Ellington. A pleasure. Quite the show you've been putting on. Imani didn't shake his hand. It's not a show. It's a reckoning. Miles grinned. Even better. Reckonings make headlines. Headlines raise stock. She narrowed her eyes. What do you want, Mr. Harrington? He sat uninvited. To ensure my investment's safe. When executives start firing top staff and announcing social justice missions, it makes people nervous. I'm not here to soothe nerves, she said flatly. No, but you are in business. And business has optics. Imani leaned forward. You just made my list, Mr. Harrington. He smiled wider. Good. I like a front row seat. Later that evening, Lucy burst into Imani's office. You're not going to believe who's in the lobby. Imani raised an eyebrow. Try me. Lucy held out her phone. A grainy CCTV freeze frame showed a woman in red heels and a black pencil skirt. Beatrice Lane. Imani muttered. She's here. She says you called her in. Imani stood. I did. We'll need her. B. Lane, Imani's former publicist and one of the best spin doctors in the UK, strode into the office moments later. You rang, B said, not even waiting for pleasantries. I did. You still fix PR disasters? Darling, B smirked, I make disasters look like marketing strategy. Imani folded her arms. You'll have your work cut out for you. I always do. After the staff retraining began, B pulled Imani into a private meeting room. You're not going to like this. She slid over a document. It was a proposal, an offer from Harrington Group to buy majority shares in Ellington Grand. He's circling, B said. And I don't think it's because he likes chandeliers. Imani scanned the document. He's trying to force me out. Or make you look like you lost control and need saving. Imani shook her head. Not happening. B tapped the page. You've got two choices. Shut this down fast. Or beat him at his own game. What's your move? Imani asked. B smirked. Expose the puppet master. Publicly. I'll write the script. James pulled Imani aside after the staff meeting. We've got another issue, he said quietly. Someone's been leaking internal memos to the press. Imani sighed. Halford? Possibly. Or, someone new. They reviewed security footage. There, just barely in the frame, was Ellie, copying files late at night. Imani's chest tightened. No. She wouldn't. She might, James replied. Or she's being used. Imani stared at the screen, quiet. Get her in here, she said. We ask once. No second chances. As James left, B entered holding a stack of drafts. Your speech for tomorrow. Hope you're ready to turn up the heat. Imani replied without looking. Always. Ellie sat across from Imani, fidgeting with the edge of her sleeve. Did you access the staff files this week? Imani asked calmly. Ellie swallowed. I did, but not for the press. Then for who? I was trying to find out why Nigel flagged me. My friend is a journalism intern, he helped me dig without realizing it was sensitive. He didn't publish anything, I swear. Imani paused. You made a poor decision. I know. But I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, Ellie pleaded. I just wanted the truth. James folded his arms. You almost compromised the investigation. Imani studied her. Ellie, I believe you. But you're suspended for a week. No exceptions. Tears welled in Ellie's eyes. I understand. As she left, Bea leaned against the door. Told you this place has layers. Imani nodded. And we've just scratched the surface. Imani couldn't sleep. She sat in her penthouse, eyes scanning the city below. Miles Harrington's offer was still fresh in her mind, like a venomous snake, and she knew he was waiting for the right moment to strike. The phone buzzed in her hand. It was a message from Bea. Meeting with Croft's old associates tomorrow. They're itching to take over. Imani threw the phone down on the desk. Not if I can help it. James entered the room. You're still thinking about Harrington? I'm thinking about a war, she replied, standing. It's time to turn the tables. James smirked. Let me know when we start burning bridges. Imani gave him a hard look. We're not burning bridges. We're building new ones. Stronger, better, and with the right people. James nodded. Understood. I'll get the ball rolling. The following morning, Ellie returned to work. She had been suspended for a week, but she wasn't the only one walking on eggshells. A tense atmosphere hung over the staff like a storm cloud, and Imani knew it wouldn't take long for someone else to crack. As Ellie walked past the HR office, she noticed something strange. The door was slightly ajar, and she could see Halford's face on the other side, whispering into a phone. His expression was one of desperation. Ellie froze. She should have walked away, but her curiosity got the better of her. She stepped closer, trying to catch a word or two. Yes, I'll handle it, Halford muttered. She doesn't suspect a thing. I'm taking her down from the inside. Ellie's blood ran cold. Halford was working with Harrington. She immediately texted Imani. It's Halford. He's in on it. Imani's response was swift, meet me. Now. Imani and Ellie met in the back office. Ellie looked nervous, still processing what she'd overheard. This changes everything, Ellie said, wringing her hands. Halford's in bed with Harrington. If he's trying to sabotage you. Imani smiled coldly. Then I'll burn him first. Ellie looked at her in shock. What? You're going after Halford? Absolutely, Imani said. But first, I need to know everything he's been doing. You'll help me expose him. Ellie nodded, determination growing in her eyes. I'll do whatever it takes. Imani turned to James, who had quietly entered. We're going after him. Everything. No more games. James grinned. I like where this is going. Later that evening, Imani sat with Bea, going over their plan to expose Halford. They knew it had to be done in the right way, one mistake, and Harrington would pounce on them. I've got a few of Croft's old emails, Bea said, sliding over a folder. They mention a backdoor deal with Harrington. Your investor's been playing both sides. Imani took the folder, her fingers trembling slightly as she flipped through it. The evidence was clear, Croft had been actively undermining Imani, all while trying to make himself look like the victim. So, we're in the clear? Bea asked, raising an eyebrow. Imani smirked. We will be. I just need a little more leverage. And once I have it, I'll force Harrington to make a choice, his money or his pride. Bea nodded. I'll help you tear this apart. The day had come. Imani stood in front of the boardroom, her heart steady, her mind sharp. It was time to confront Halford and put an end to the charade. She'd sent out the invitations herself, inviting key board members, including Miles Harrington, to witness the showdown. Today ends with me taking full control, Imani thought to herself, walking through the long hallway toward the conference room. Inside, Halford was already seated, his eyes wary. He knew something was coming. Miles Harrington sat at the head of the table, his signature smug grin plastered on his face. Imani entered, her presence commanding attention. "Let's get started." Halford tried to play it cool. "I'm not sure what this is about, Miss Ellington, but I don't think—" "Cut the crap, Halford," Imani interrupted. "You've been sabotaging me. You've been working with Harrington to take me down, haven't you?" Halford's face twisted with guilt, but he tried to deny it. "That's absurd." Imani pulled out the folder Bea had given her, filled with damning evidence. "I don't think it is. This is your email to Croft. This is your plan with Harrington." The room fell silent as everyone looked at the printed emails. Halford's face turned red. Halford began, but his words faltered as Imani's gaze burned into him. "Not another word," Imani said coldly. "You're fired. Effective immediately." She turned to the board. "I'm taking full control of this hotel. No more distractions. No more games." Miles Harrington stood, his grin faltering. "You can't do this." Imani smiled. "I just did." The room was still tense after Imani's dramatic declaration. Halford, now standing up, glared at her with venom. "You'll regret this, Ellington." Imani stood her ground, her expression unreadable. "Not if I'm in control, Halford." James stepped forward, his voice firm. "Security will escort you out." Halford tried to regain his composure, but it was clear he'd lost. With a sneer, he turned and stormed out of the room. Harrington, however, stayed seated, his fingers drumming on the table. "You've made an enemy out of me, Imani." Imani smirked. "I've made an ally out of my integrity." Harrington leaned back in his chair. "The board will never let you stay in charge. The shareholders will revolt. You're not invincible." "Then we'll see how strong my board is when I show them the truth," she shot back, meeting his gaze with unflinching confidence. "I'll bring the fight to you," Harrington warned, standing up and walking toward the door. "But remember, I'm not the only one with power here." Imani watched him leave, knowing he would be back, and this time, it would be a battle she wasn't planning to lose. The next day, Imani gathered her closest allies. James, Bea, and Ellie all sat around a conference table, brainstorming their next move. The fight with Harrington and Halford was only the beginning. "We need leverage," Bea said, tapping her pen against the table. "But we don't just need dirt. We need something that'll leave them with no way out." Ellie shifted nervously. "What if the board members are already working with Harrington?" "I don't think they're all in on it," Imani replied, her eyes narrowing. "But I have someone in mind who might have the inside scoop." James raised an eyebrow. "Who?" Imani smirked. "A few months ago, I hired a financial analyst named Michael Ashton. He's sharp, and he's got connections in the boardroom. He might be the one to give us the information we need." Bea looked intrigued. "You think he'll help us?" Imani leaned back in her chair. "I don't think he'll have a choice." Later that evening, Imani met Michael Ashton at a quiet cafe near the hotel. He looked nervous, glancing around as he sat down across from her. "I didn't expect to be meeting you like this," he said, his voice low. "I'm assuming this isn't a friendly chat." Imani smiled coldly. "Far from it. I need information. I know you're in deep with the board members, and I need you to give me everything you have on Harrington's dealings." Michael hesitated, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. "You're playing with fire, Miss Ellington. If it gets out, Harrington's entire empire will burn to the ground," she interrupted. So, do you want to be a part of this or get left behind? He swallowed, clearly conflicted. I'll help you, but I need something in return. Imani leaned forward. Name your price. He glanced around again, lowering his voice. I want a seat at the table. A position with influence. Imani raised an eyebrow. You'll get it, after you deliver. You know how this works. Michael nodded. All right. I'll give you the information you need, but you'd better keep your end of the deal. The next morning, Michael came through with exactly what Imani needed: financial records showing illegal payments, insider trading, and secret agreements between Harrington and several board members. It was damning, and Imani couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. James, B., and Ellie sat around her office as she spread the documents out on her desk. This is it, B said, scanning the records. This is enough to put them all in jail. Imani shook her head. Jail isn't the goal. We take this public, and we force them into submission. They'll either back off, or they'll crumble. Ellie looked uneasy. Isn't that dangerous? You'll be making powerful enemies. Imani smiled. I've made enemies before. This time, they're going to wish they never crossed me. James leaned in. So, we're going to make the first move. Exactly, Imani said. But we do it carefully. First, we expose the financial fraud. Then, we deal with Harrington. Imani didn't waste any time. The next day, she called a press conference, inviting major media outlets and some select board members. As cameras flashed, Imani stood at the podium, ready to drop the bombshell. I have uncovered evidence of illegal activities within this hotel chain, she began, her voice steady. Payments have been funneled through secret accounts, board members have colluded with external investors, and my company has been manipulated for personal gain. The room went silent. Murmurs rippled through the audience as Imani presented the financial records. This is just the beginning. The people behind these schemes will be held accountable. Harrington's face paled as he sat in the front row, his eyes narrowing in fury. He tried to speak up, but Imani cut him off. Your time is up, Miles. You've underestimated me. The media erupted with questions, and Imani knew she had the upper hand. The battle for control had only just begun, but she was ready. Imani leaned back in her chair, her fingers dancing over the sleek glass of her desk. The media storm from her press conference had turned into a full-blown hurricane. Miles Harrington was scrambling to save face, but the evidence was out there, and the board was shaking. The phone buzzed. It was B. Miss Ellington, B said on the line. You're about to make history. The board's about to release a statement disavowing Harrington and everything he's done. Your move. Imani smirked. Then let's make sure it's official. Minutes later, Imani called an emergency board meeting, bringing the final pieces of the puzzle to light. She laid out the damning evidence once more, confirming Harrington's corruption and the board's involvement. This is the truth, and you will all face the consequences, Imani said, her voice steady, but carrying the weight of 100 battles. The room was dead silent. Slowly, the board members began to nod, realizing their only way out was to follow Imani's lead. Harrington was officially out. No more deals. No more games. Imani smiled, knowing this was the final victory. The days that followed were a blur of media coverage and legal proceedings. The press couldn't get enough of the fall of Harrington, and Imani's name was on everyone's lips. She had turned the tables and taken control of her empire. But there was one more thing she needed to do: strengthen her hold on the company. In a final act of power, Imani called for a board re-election. This time, she would select her own people, those who aligned with her values and vision for the future. When the election results came in, Imani's hand-picked team took their places, leaving no room for more corruption. The hotel was officially in her hands, with a clear path forward. With the power dynamics fully in her favor, Imani focused on what really mattered: rebuilding. She spent days meeting with staff, discussing new plans, and revitalizing the culture of the hotel chain. It was no longer just about luxury, it was about respect, fairness, and integrity. "I want every guest to feel valued," she told the staff. "From the moment they step through the door, to the moment they leave. No exceptions." The changes were immediate, and the buzz around the hotel chain grew even louder. Guests were now raving not just about the luxury, but about the welcoming atmosphere. The tide had truly turned. But just when Imani thought she had triumphed, a new challenge arose. Miles Harrington wasn't one to go down quietly. A few weeks after his downfall, he tried to make a last-ditch effort to regain control by launching a smear campaign. He had a few loyal allies left, and he attempted to drag Imani's reputation through the mud. But this time, Imani wasn't blindsided. She had a counterplan ready. B worked quickly, crafting a brilliant PR strategy, while James ensured security measures were in place to prevent any more sabotage. Imani went on the offensive, holding her ground. With a bold public statement, she addressed the smear campaign head-on, exposing Harrington's true nature for the world to see. The final blow was swift. His credibility was destroyed, and he was left with nothing. Imani had won. Again. As the dust finally settled, Imani stood on the rooftop of the Ellington Grand, looking out at the city skyline. The empire she had built was now stronger than ever, and she had finally secured the future of her brand. The phone buzzed. It was Ellie, texting a simple message, "We did it." Imani smiled, replying, "Yes, we did. And this is just the beginning." She turned to James, who had become more than just her right-hand man. "This is ours," she said, her voice full of pride. "And we're going to make sure it stays ours." But then, a notification popped up on her phone. It was from her social media account, where she had been keeping her followers updated on the hotel's journey. "Hey, everyone. If you've enjoyed the journey with me, if you've watched every twist and turn, now's the time to support. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video with your friends and family. Help spread the word. We've made it this far together, and I want you to be part of what comes next. So, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now and stay with me for more exciting updates." She hit send and looked at James. "It's not just about the fight. It's about building something that lasts. And that starts with the people who believe in you." Thank you all for following the story. If you loved this journey, hit that subscribe button and share this video with everyone you know. Let's grow this together and stay connected for more powerful stories like this one. Your support helps keep this channel going, and we couldn't do it without you. So, don't wait, subscribe and join the movement.